Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to this Jaltest Marine webinar. I see here some names that some familiar names. Let's wait for some more people before we start with this webinar. Hope you can hear me well, hope you can see my screen. Please, if you have any questions before we start, let me know. Raise your hand or send a message. Today we're gonna see some useful information from our multi-brand diagnostic tool, Jaltest Diagnostics, in this case for marine, for vessels, for boats, and also engines, stationary engines. So in the meantime, let's wait a bit for more people to join to this webinar. I see here also one of our colleagues. Welcome. Again, I repeat, if you have any doubts, any questions before we start with the webinar, please let me know, raise your hand or send me a message. Okay, so I think we can start with this webinar. Okay, so somebody is telling me that. Now you should see me also. Hello, everybody. Yes, so let's start. Let's start with the webinar. As I said before, I'm going to start talking about, as you can see on the explanation of this webinar, firstly about our tricky connection and also about one special function from Jaltest, garage versus planning, GRP. Firstly, I would like to start with the tricky connections. Very interesting for all of us who works with diagnostic tools. But before that, let you know that in our software works for commercial vehicles, agricultural vehicles, construction, and also marine. In this webinar, we will focus on, especially on our marine projects. Regarding this one, let you know that we cover inboard, outboard, jet skis, and stationary engines. Okay. We have a wide coverage. And I will show you already on our software. As you can see here, we have our software. Before starting an explanation, I will want you to have a quick look of it. Here are the inboard vessels, outboard jet skis, and stationary engines. For example, in inboard, we have up to 26 different brands. In outboard, we have 13 different brands. Okay, here we have the most common ones like Tohatsu, Mercury, Suzuki, Honda, and so on. Jet ski also. And also stationary engines. The last one here we have 24 different brands. You can customize the menu with the brands you like. So here this is basically the main screen, how the software looks like, and let's go back to our presentation. Okay, so just as I said, we have many different brands. In this case, we have 67 with more than 1,231 different models, including inboard, outboard, jet skis, and stationary engines. We have been rewarded because the comprehensivity of our software, the brands that we have there, and the functions that we have available there, because this is not only a diagnosis tool, you can do many other things with it that we can also have a look at it. But as I said, let's start with tricky connections, because I have three different from you. The first one will be diagnosis without the standard OBD cable. We always know that in many cases we need only the OBD cable and that's it, but this is not doesn't happen all the time. So we will see connection where we don't have that OBD cable. Also, guides to connect to the ECU using technical release, because a part of diagnosis, as I said before, we have more extra information that help you to properly work with our diagnostic tool. So among that information, there is also a technical release that can be used in order to do that. And also a connection using multi-pins. This may be easier for some of you, but not for all. So let's have a look at this connection also. Starting with the first connection, it's important to always have, as I said before, all the cables, but not only the OBD cable. In this case, for this ECU, in this tricky connection from this ECU, those are the cables that might be used, that must be used when external power supply is required. Okay, as you can see, we don't have the standard OBD cable. I want to let you know that in our software, the OBD cable is called JDC, okay, like most of the cables here, JDC 2013.9, okay, so as you can see, we don't have this cable here, but let's see this cable combination inside our software using this route that we have here. So let's go back to our software so that I will take advantage and show you how the software behaves, how it looks like. And for that connection, for that specific connection, we must go to a Mercury 4-stroke. Here we can see inside Mercury the families, all the families that we cover. We have more than 80 models in total. If we go to 4-stroke, we have 18 models, and for this specific connection, we must take the 34-stroke. And we are here in this specific engine, and for this one we have 3 different ECUs, okay? And if we have a look at the connections, for example, the first one, we can see here an explanation of the cables that we need, and as I said, in most of them, we have the standard OBD 2013.9 cable, okay? This is the first connection. Here we have a second connection. Let's see the connectors. The same, we have the 2013.9, but in some cases we don't have this OBD, this standard cable. Like for example, in this connection we have here, you might want to connect using another cable combination, or you must do it because you don't have your OBD cable right there. So here in the second connection we have this JDC 100 plus the specific for this ECU, the JDC 624.9. Okay, so if we go back to the presentation, we can see the same cable, right? The specific JDC 624.9 and the JDC 100 that is also required for this connection. Okay, so let's see how this works. Up here in our software, we have, as I said before, the cable combination, but also we need power supply as we can see here, because we don't have the battery that will power the electronic control unit. Okay, so when we need to power the ECU externally, we always will need to use the JDC, the JDC 10IM2 with the clamps, okay, that will go directly to the battery in order to give power supply to the electronic control unit, okay. As we can see here, this is the combination that we must follow in order to connect to the electronic control unit. We have the cable, the specific cable, the JDC 100 that will go to our Jaltest link, Jaltest V9 link in this case. And after that, we have this JDC 10A and 2, that the connection will go here, connected to this cable, and the clamps will go to the battery. Okay, this is very easy to understand how this connection works. Interesting and useful and mandatory when you don't have the OBD cable and you want to perform diagnosis in such engine as we have here, okay, with Hokusa and Denki electronic control unit. This will be the first connection. I hope you understand it. I hope you don't have any doubts. We can go forward, we can go ahead and see the second connection. As I said before, apart of only diagnosis, we have extra information in our software. In this case, it's a technical release. So in the following example, we will see the necessary connections to be made when our engine doesn't work with or doesn't have a built-in battery, and we need to power the ECU externally, again as in the last description, but with a technical release that will help us to perform this connection. So let's go again to our diagnostic tool, following this route. In this case, it will be an even route. So we are in Mercury, we will go out. We will take an even route, and instead of going to the specific engine, specific model to connect, we will take this menu here called releases and procedures to see the information that we have here, okay? So let's see the information that Jaltest shows us here. As always, we have to perform the diagnosis menu connection, okay, as mentioned before, but we have to carry out an additional connection when the engine has a manual start, okay, as in this case, we can see here that this engine has a manual start without a built-in battery. Here we have the description, and in order to do this, we are going to use another menu with information that is here, that is provided by Jaltest, of course. Here is in this releases and procedures menu, okay? Here we have the steps, so let's have a look at it to see what this technical release tells us, how we proceed in order to supply the electronic control unit with power. In this case, we have a short test that, in this case, tells us that the steps to turn on the ignition key, ignition on, engine off, very important, ignition on and engine off of the manual start engines. The objective is that the diagnostic tool could interact with the control unit with the engine stopped, okay? So we can perform diagnosis having the engine stopped, okay? And the procedure is as follows. Normally, these types of engines used to have a circuitry of the ignition key, okay? That will be on the middle between the electronic control unit and between the diagnosis connector, okay? This is not the diagnosis connector. This will be used only to power supply the electronic control unit with power supply, of course. And here we have the external battery will be necessary, of course, and where the positive terminal, okay, will be connected to the pin 4. Here we have the description. This will be the pin 4 located here, and the negative one will be connected to the pin 3, the black one. Okay, so we must connect our battery cables to pin 4, the positive, and negative to pin 3. Okay, once we did that, and the ECU will be power supplied, and the control unit will illuminate, allowing to perform the diagnosis. And once we have done that, we must go again to the diagnosis menu, choose our option, and then connect our connector with the combination that we have here. Okay, the same, we have the standard 2013.9, the OBD cable, plus the specific JDC 609A. Here we have a second combination, again with JDC 100 plus JDC 609.9. Okay, so I remember again, you must do this 2 connections in order to perform diagnosis on these specific engines. Okay, following the steps from these releases and procedures, and also from this cable combination. Both of them are mandatory to perform a diagnosis with a manual starter engine. So let's go back to our presentation. And the last one, the last connection that I want to show you is this one with multi-pin connector, because sometimes we don't have the possibility to connect using the cables. Will be the most interesting and easiest way to connect, but it's not always possible. Okay, and for those types of systems or engines, we will need to connect using multi-pins, right? If we want to perform that diagnosis that is so demanded. So in this case, I will explain you the steps in order to connect using multi-pins. Here we have the picture, but let's go to our software following this route to see the engine that we will use for this connector. In this case, we will go out from outboard engines. We will go to inboard ones. As I said before, here we have plenty of them, 26, but in this case, we will take an MAN. And we will choose D08 series and this concrete model. As you can see, the software is similar for every model, for every engine. We have the same steps, the same routes, everything is similar. So once you learn how to use our diagnostic tool with one tool, with one engine, you will learn how to use it with all of them. In this case, as the same as we saw before, here we have the connectors. But for this specific engine, we have only the possibility to connect using multi-pins, okay? This is the electronic control unit. Again, we have this message that tells us that we must use power supply. Here we have the connector with the pinout, and here we have the cable with multi-pins. Now, the interesting thing is to know which one you must use, which pins, in which connector, how this works, okay? So, as we saw before, here we have a description of what we must use. So here is the software with the description, with the pinouts, the cables that we must use. But let's have a look again, okay, at our presentation to see how it will, the cables that we will need in order to perform that diagnosis, okay, taking account the cables that Jaltest tells us to use. Here we have the combination that we must use. Of course, we always need the computer. Here we have our USB cable. Here we have our Jaltest link, the standard OBD cable, and we have here the multi-pin cables. Of course, when using multi-pin connectors, power supply is required, and for that we will always need this JDC 10AM2 cable. Very important to use always this cable when using multi-pins. So let's see what this connection means, which pins we must use, and where we must connect to the electronic control unit. So let's go back again to Jaltest. So again, here we have the connections, here we have the cables that we must use, and here we have the pins that we must also use in order to, I say it again, to reach that electronic control unit. So firstly, we have the JDC 2013.9 OBD cable. Remember, this OBD cable is mandatory in most of the connections, not in all of them, as we saw. But in this case, we need the OBD cable. Let's go to the presentation again. Here we have it. So it's our link, the OBD cable, and then we have the multi-pins. So let's go back to the software. After that, we have this JTP 101, which will be this cable. And for this cable, we need to use the JTP3, which is this small yellow connector. So again, let's go to the software. OBD cable, JTP 101, which is this one, plus JTP3, which is the small one. Those are the cables that we must use in order to perform diagnosis. Now let's see where we have to connect those cables to the connector in order to reach that ECU. So if we go here, we see the pinout from the connector. This is the connector, and here the pinout with the description of each pin. And here on the left side, we have a description of the pinout and the connectors that we must use. So for example, the first one, pin 3, which will be this one from the connector, we must use B plus JTP3. What B means? So if we go here where our connector is, we have a description of all the different colors, different connectors from this JTP 101. And here it says that we need to use the B1, which will be the yellow one. So will be this one from the middle here, plus JTP3, which is the small pin here that we have here. So if we go back to the presentation, we have the OBD cable, JTP 101 cable, yellow connector from the pin, one moment, and the JTP3. So this is the connection, okay, that you must follow in order to perform diagnosis. Of course, here we have another combination, very important. You cannot work without power supply and at any time. So here you will also need to connect to the battery, okay, to have power supply from the battery. So always use this cable. If we go back to Jaltest, here we will have an electrical power supply using this cable. So it always tells us which cable we must use in order to connect to the electronic on the board, okay? So again, I will repeat this connection again in case it's needed. OBD cable plus JTP 101, and the connection will be this one, pin 3 from our connector. There we must connect B, the yellow one, plus the small JTP3. Every cable, including this one, has the description, the name on it, printed on it. So you will know that this small cable is JTP3, okay? I repeat again, connected to the yellow one is called B in this case, from the JTP 101. If I go to the presentation again, here we have again the connection. So hope everything is clear. Hope you understand. In case everything is clear and you have no doubts, we can continue. I think I have questions. I have questions here from somebody. So somebody is asking me if the power supply only must be 12 volts or we can also use 24 volts. We can use both of them. So if we have two batteries, we can combine them and work with 24 volts at any moment. So you can use both. The JDC 10AM2 is prepared to work with both. So this is a very good question taken into account. And the answer is yes, you can work to both 12 and also 24 volts. Okay, so thank you for the questions. Let's carry on because those was the three tricky connections that I want you to know. Okay, this one using the JTC 100 instead of the standard OBD cable, powering the electronic control unit using our technical release. Okay, for this Evinrude is mandatory when you have a manual starter engine. And also this connection with multi-pins. Okay, mandatory sometimes when we don't have the possibility to work with the specific cable or only the engine allows us to work only with multi-pins. So there are more of them, but of course I want to introduce you some of them to show you that the Jaltest can help you with this information, not only with diagnosis. There is plenty of more information we will see next on the next point, which is GRP. Jaltest GRP, Garage Resource Planning. So basically, GRP is an extra module available on our diagnostic tool. Okay, it's for free. It's available for everyone, and the aim of this module is to storage and share your clients list, your customer information, vehicle and vessels data and reports, workshop management, and so on. So you don't need to work with external tools, with external application. You can use our garage resource planning, okay, GRP, which is always available for everyone, and it's for free, and it's available in our software. So if I go back, let's go out from this connection. Again, here is the main menu of our software, and on this side we have our GRP. So let's click on it. Now it's opening it. I repeat it, it's available for everyone who is working with our diagnostic tool. Now GRP is synchronizing because I am sharing my data, my information with other Jaltest users, those who I want them to see the information, of course. And as I said, this is here we have a small description. This will allow us basically to organize and to have our clients list, vehicle list, vessels list, reports stored here in our computer using our program, our GRP program, and also to share them with others. So for example, if you have a workshop network, you will be able to share your reports with other workshops, okay, that you are linked to them, you want to share information to them, you can use our GRP network to do that. Here we have many possibilities, here we have many menus, but for this webinar, I want to show you the most interesting ones for those who will start or want to start working with our diagnostic tool, which will be client list, vehicle and vessels list, and reports. Starting, for example, with reports, let's have a look what we have here. Here we have, firstly, several menus: diagnosis, maintenance, ETM, and workshop order. The most important for now, for this webinar, will be this diagnosis and maintenance reports, because always when you work on an engine, on a vessel, a jet ski, whatever, you want to save what you have done, of course. And for that, this reports menu is useful. Here we have, for example, many vessels here. The name of the vessel, the number, the plate, in case the vessel has one. I prepared some just for this webinar. Serial number, the VIN number of the vehicle, and if that vessel or vehicle is associated to a client from your client list, okay? But before we go on, let's have a look, for example, at this Yamaha F200, at this report, to see what we have done, okay? So if I click on See Report, a window will pop up that shows us everything, all the steps that we have done in our vessel in this case. Okay, we will not have time to have a look at the software at this specific vehicle vessel, but it doesn't matter because we have here the report, as you can see here, with information from our Jaltest device, like the serial number. Also, it's possible to customize it, adding your logo here, your company's name, the VAT number, the phone number, and so on. When this report was created, the date, the hour, and in which engine, in which vehicle or vessel, in this case, you have been working. You can add the number plate, the serial, the VIN number, or you can also add a name to this specific engine. Okay. So firstly, in this case, I started with diagnosis. Diagnosis, here we saw all those errors. We see that we have present errors. Error clearance, we delete the error from the memory. After that, I made a system data because Jaltest, as I said before, doesn't shows you only diagnosis, but it's possible to see information from the electronic control unit, information from the operation hours. Very important when you work with a used engine or a second-hand engine, or you want to buy or sell one, and you want to make sure the operation hours of that engine, you can use our diagnostic tool for that. Once you do that, it will be stored here in this report, and you can save it just as I have done. I have made a measurement selection, I activate components, ignition coils, the injectors is also possible. Here are the initial conditions for this component, for the injectors. Also the oil control valve, so many things, and everything that I have done will be stored here. As you can see, we have many pages with many sheets with information, engine hours, and also at the end I can also automatically add the hours that I have spent on fixing this vessel, the price per hour I have. And also the device will calculate the total amount that the client must pay for this specific work we have done. Okay, I can send this information by email, I can modify it, I can delete it, I can access the diagnosis menu. Okay, directly from here, you can access the diagnosis menu. I can add notes and I can send it also. So for example, if I click on modify, let's see the information we have, what we saw before, the number, the VIN, the serial number. Here, if this vessel is associated to a client, so in this case, we have that John Mercy owns this Yamaha. So let's have a look at the client list. Next menu here, we have several clients. In this case, those are mine. Okay, so as I said before, we have, for example, this John Mercy who owns that Yamaha. Okay, so let's see what information we have from this customer, because here we have information related to the customers. I'm checking if somebody has some questions. No questions here. Let's carry on. So as I said before, we have John Mercy. Let's see what information we have from John Mercy here. We have the customer code, we have the name, we have the VAT number. Okay, information from the customer that we must, of course, say in order to have them have the most complete information of our customers as possible. And here we have also very important the vessels or vehicles or vessels in this case that belongs to this potential customer. Okay. So as you can see, we have here several ones, and we worked before with this Yamaha. If I click here to see the vessel, I will see information from that specific vessel, sorry, in this case. Okay, so as you can see, everything is linked. If we have a customer that owns several vessels, I will have the possibility to see it. Doesn't matter if I'm on the client's list, on the reports, and also the vehicle and vessels list. Okay, this is the last menu that I want to show you today. So let's have a look at it here. Here are all my vehicles and vessels. We are multi-brand tools, so we have construction machinery, marine, commercial vehicles, and agricultural ones. So I have several reports here. But let's focus on ours, on our Yamaha, why not, that we saved here with John Mercy. If I have several vehicles or vessels, I have plenty of them, and if I want to search for them in a most easier and fastest way, I can do it by using the filters. For example, if I write here the name, here I have two of them. One is not related to a client, and the other one that we work with is related to John Mercy. Okay, so I just found my vessel here in a very easy way. I will delete the filters so I can show you how it looks like. The same as on the other menus, here we have information related to in this case, with the vessel, model, the plate number, VIN or serial number, and if it's associated to a client, okay? So if I go to this one, to our Yamaha, I will see information, just as we saw before, related to this specific vessel. It's an outboard engine, Yamaha F200, and this is the engine type. Here we have the systems that are available on this specific engine, right? So as you can see, the information is complete, and again, I repeat it again, is shared between the vessels list, the reports, and client list. What happens if I want to add new vehicles, new vessels, or new clients? I have always the option to export and import, or already create the customer directly here from our software. But I have the possibility to take an Excel list, for example, and download or upload all my clients here on GRP. Okay, so if I've been working before with a similar program, similar app for storing my clients, I can upload all of them here, so I will be able to work on them, to modify information, to add reports to specific clients, and so on. The same happens with the vehicle and vessels list. I am able to export, import, or add a new one directly from here. If I click here, I will be able to see it. Here I have to choose the type, the brand, the model, and so on. It's very easy to do that. But those are the most interesting menus for a user, for a workshop. As I said before, is also possible to share all the information that we saw before, okay, that we have here with a network or a garage network with other users, other Jaltest users that wants to see, or we want to share with them what we have done. In case, let's imagine, for example, somebody came to me to fix his vessel, his boat, and after that, to make the maintenance, he will go to another workshop that also collaborates with me. If I am able to share the information using this GRP network, will be easier for everybody to make the maintenance, a total maintenance on that specific vessel, right? This is an example. But hope you you understand it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Let's see if we have some questions here. Well, in case we don't have more questions, let's go back to the presentation. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone for being here in this presentation, this short presentation. Here you have my data, my personal data, in case you want to get in touch with me. You have here my email address and phone number. Please let me know if you have any doubts, any questions. What would you like to see maybe in further webinars? What information is interesting for you? Because we work with that information in order to constantly develop our diagnostic tool. So please let me know about all those things using my email address or phone number. I also use WhatsApp. And just to let you know more about our training programs, about our webinars and so on, I will go to the internet, to our webpage, jaltest.com, because here we have very interesting information for those who want to learn more about diagnostic tools, about Jaltest. We have a program called Jaltest University, where we offer trainings, we offer e-learning courses, we offer webinars, and if you want to have a look at it, in case in the future you want to download one specific course, you can do it following this route in our webpage. In services, we have Jaltest University. We have both e-learning courses and also webinars. Okay, so for example, in e-learning courses, you can download it. Doesn't matter if you are a Jaltest user or not. This is available for everyone. Doesn't matter if you work with vessels, with vehicles, because our tool is multi-brand and it's interesting to know how it works. Because once, as I said before, once you know to work with it with one brand, you will know to work with it with all the brands, all the vehicle or vessels that you work with. And for example, here we have a training course. Here you have more information about it in case you are interested. So please have a look at our webpage where we show you all this information. So hope everyone enjoyed the webinar. Before leaving, if you have any other questions that I might help you with, let me know. Here I have another question regarding GRP on how can I store the port and starboard in the list. Okay, so if you want to save it in that way, it's very easy to do that, because let's go back to our software, okay, to answer this question. Let's go to GRP. Just a moment. Let's go to GRP to see how we can do that. For example, we have reports. Okay, we just make diagnosis. We just work with a vessel, and now I want to save here if it's a starboard or port engine. Let's take this Sea-Doo. Well, it's a jet ski, but it doesn't matter. Or this Yamaha, why not? Here, if I click here, I have the possibility to modify this report, and here I can save as, for example, starboard engine Yamaha F200. Okay, this is the easiest way that you can do that. Okay, keep it in mind. You can save it by modifying the report in this way. So you will know, you will perfectly know which type of engine you worked on. You can add also numbers, or you can add the name you want. So you can modify it and customize it as suitable for you, to make it suitable for you. Okay. So now if you save it, I don't want to send it by email. So now I have the name here with my starboard engine. Okay. This is the easiest way. for doing that. And you can do it by modifying it, or when you are performing the report, when you are creating it, we can see how we create these reports when making diagnosis, when performing diagnosis on the vehicle, on the vessel, sorry. But for now, I just want to show you this GRP, this reports, client list, vehicle list, vessels list, again, so you can be aware about it. So thank you for your questions. Hope you enjoyed the webinar. And well, as I said before, here you have my contact details again. Please let me know your thoughts. If you would like to see something else in the future, some other types of information, if you want to see, of course, how the software behaves inside the engine, please let me know by email. And thank you again.